So imagine this. It's like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, and your entire corporate network just completely goes dark.
Yeah, absolute worst case scenario.
Right. And the ransomware is spreading so fast that by the time you've even picked up the phone to call IT, 5,000 laptops are just bricked. Completely useless.
And historically, I mean, recovering from that kind of disaster takes months.
Exactly. You're shipping laptops across the country, wiping hard drives manually, just losing weeks of productivity. But today, we're actually looking at technology that can rebuild that entire network, restoring every single machine to a perfect, secure state in about 15 minutes.
Which is just wild to think about.
With zero human intervention.
Yeah, because we're really witnessing a collision of two massive forces right now. On one side, you've got offensive capabilities that are, frankly, accelerating at a terrifying pace. And on the other, defensive infrastructure is fundamentally changing its architecture just to survive. We're moving from a mindset of trying to prevent every single breach.
Because that's impossible now.
Right. Moving to a mindset of surviving and rebuilding instantaneously.
And for you listening, whether you're managing a massive enterprise fleet or, you're just a remote worker dreading the day your machine finally gives up the ghost, this shift is the new reality of your digital life.
Oh, for sure.
So our mission for this deep dive today is to help you understand this rapidly shrinking timeline of cyber attacks and why automated zero-touch recovery systems are, well, they're no longer just a luxury, they're the only viable defense.
Yeah, it's really a survival mechanism at this point.
Exactly. So we're pulling from two core sources today. We've got a June 22nd, 2026 intelligence report from Let's Data Science, and that's covering a highly unusual joint warning from the Five Eyes nations.
A really rare statement, yeah.
And we're also looking at the technical blueprints from Swimmage, which is a platform specializing in this automated endpoint recovery. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with just the sheer velocity of the threat.
Right, the Five Eyes warning.
Yeah, the cybersecurity agencies, so that's the US, UK, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, they issued a joint statement. And, you don't see these 5 intelligence apparatuses coordinate a public alarm unless, the tectonic plates of global security are shifting.
And you don't. Yeah. And the primary catalyst for this alarm is undoubtedly artificial intelligence. The agencies outline how AI is aggressively lowering the barrier to entry for malicious actors.
Because you don't need to be a genius coder anymore.
Exactly. It lowers that barrier while simultaneously amplifying the speed, the scale, and the sophistication of the attacks. It used to take a team of highly skilled programmers weeks to find a single vulnerability and write a custom exploit.
And now,
generative AI models are completely automating that reconnaissance and exploit generation.
Yeah, the report includes this quote from the UK's National Cybersecurity Center that completely shifts the timeline for me. They explicitly state that the window for advanced AI threats to compromise our systems is, quote, not years, it is months.
It is months. Yeah. And we're actually seeing the shockwaves of that compressed timeline in the private sector right now.
Oh, right, the Anthropic situation.
Yes. The Let's Data Science report details a major operational development from just last week, June 13th, 2026. Anthropic actually had to suspend worldwide access to its 2 most powerful frontier AI models, Fable 5 and Mythos 5.
And just to clarify, frontier AI refers to those highly capable, cutting-edge models that are pushing the absolute limits of machine learning, right? Like the ones that can write really complex code and solve multi-step logic problems.
Precisely. They are the top of the line. And they suspended those specific models, citing export control and national security concerns.
And I think it's really worth noting here that we're looking at this strictly through the lens of the data provided in the Let's Data Science report.
Right, absolutely.
We're totally impartial here. Regardless of the broader geopolitics surrounding Anthropic's export controls, the technical takeaway from the intelligence is crystal clear. The tools required to launch devastating cyber attacks are just becoming way too powerful and too fast to manage with traditional methods.
The human element is just, it's outmatched.
I keep picturing traditional hacking as like a lone cat burglar. You have a guy in a black turtleneck creeping around a building, manually jiggling door handles, trying to pick one specific lock. It takes specialized skill and a lot of time.
Yeah, it's very targeted, very slow.
But this AI-assisted hacking, it sounds more like a swarm of microscopic drones just being unleashed on that same building, simultaneously testing every single window, every door, every microscopic crack in the mortar, all at the exact same millisecond.
That is a terrifyingly accurate analogy. Generative models allow attackers to execute that trial and error process in parallel. I mean, the AI doesn't get tired, right?
Yeah.
It can ingest the source code of a piece of enterprise software, spot a logic flaw that a human reviewer completely missed, write a custom payload to exploit that flaw, and then deploy it across 10,000 targets.
All in, what, seconds?
In the time it takes a human IT analyst to just read the first security alert.
Wait, okay. If attackers are using these models to automate vulnerability scanning and instantly generate exploits, how does a human IT team possibly keep up?
They don't.
I mean, if a human has to read an alert, analyze the threat, and manually isolate a computer on the network, the battle is already over. The drone swarm is already inside the building and, like, stealing the furniture?
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you've just hit on the exact paradigm shift the Five Eyes agencies are pointing out. Humans cannot keep up.
Mm.
The human nervous system is officially a bottleneck in network defense.
Wow. A bottleneck.
It is. The warning explicitly states that the entire balance of cybersecurity must shift away from manual, human-in-the-loop processes. Organizations just have to pivot heavily toward architectural controls and highly automated detection and response systems.
Because if the attack is happening at machine speed, the defense literally has to operate at machine speed.
Exactly. And the agencies provided a very specific checklist for this transition phase. They're urging organizations to urgently reassess any systems exposed to the internet.
Lock it down.
Yeah, limit unnecessary connectivity.
Yeah.
Patch or entirely replace legacy systems running unsupported software because an automated scanner is going to find those obsolete servers instantly.
Right, it's not going to miss anything.
And most importantly, they say we need to elevate cyber resilience to a board-level responsibility.
Yeah.
A massive automated breach isn't just an IT headache anymore. It is an existential business crisis.
So if human reaction time is physically too slow and preventing every single breach is mathematically impossible against an AI swarm, we essentially have to automate the cure.
Yes, that's exactly it.
We need infrastructure that doesn't just block attacks, but can actually take a punch, collapse, and rebuild itself automatically. Which perfectly brings us to our second source, and a look at what this architecture actually looks like in practice with Swimmage.
Right. And Swimmage operates exactly in that space of automated disaster recovery and endpoint management. And to be clear, they aren't some new startup trying to just capitalize on the AI panic.
Right, they've been around.
Yeah, they've been building this specific architecture for 30 years. They currently secure over 1 million devices across more than 85 countries.
And the compliance standards they hit are intense. The documentation notes they maintain federal-grade security, aligning with frameworks like SOC 2, IPay, and FIPS.
Which is no small feat.
No, not at all. For anyone unfamiliar, that means their architecture meets the incredibly strict data privacy and encryption standards required to handle, protected medical records for hospitals or classified data for the federal government. But the performance metrics are what actually stop me in my tracks. When a PC is corrupted or completely infected with a ransomware payload, Swimmage executes a fully automated OS repair and rebuilds that machine in under 15 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, but we really need to define what rebuild means in this context, because it's not just a factory reset.
Right, it's way more than that.
It is a zero-touch deployment. The end user does not have to click through a setup menu. They don't have to reinstall their apps or recover their files. The system restores the base operating system, all the pre-approved corporate applications, the specific hardware drivers.
Everything.
Yeah, even the individual user's profile and all their custom settings. And it achieves this with zero data loss.
Which is wild. And this capability starts at just $4 a seat, so the scalability is massive. But here's where it gets really interesting for me, though. It sounds like an embedded medical kit.
Well, I like that.
Yeah, imagine having a localized trauma kit implanted inside your body. The second you get injured, this kit automatically deploys, sanitizes the wound, stitches the tissue, and gets you back on your feet in 15 minutes, without you ever needing to travel to a hospital or see a doctor.
It is literally the definition of self-healing infrastructure.
But hold on, I need to look at the actual physics of this, because I see a massive logical gap here. Let's say a company is hit by ransomware. The malware locks everything down, and the security team yanks the entire corporate network offline to stop the bleeding.
Right. Standard protocol.
So the PC is essentially a dead brick with no internet connection. How does a remote automated tool reach into a disconnected computer and rebuild it? It can't exactly download a clean Windows installation from the cloud if the Wi-Fi is cut.
Ah, that is the ultimate hurdle in disaster recovery. And it's the specific offline differentiator that separates this from traditional imaging tools.
Okay.
If we look at the Swimage FAQ documentation, the answer is that it actually doesn't download anything during the disaster.
Wait, really?
It works completely offline because all the necessary files, the configurations, and the pristine operating system image itself are pre-embedded directly into a local deployment kit. And that kit already lives securely on the endpoint.
Okay, let's evolve that medical kit analogy then. It's not just a first aid kit. It's a kit that already contains your specific DNA and blood type stored safely inside it.
Exactly.
It doesn't need to call the hospital for instructions or supplies. It has the exact blueprint of you saved locally, so it can rebuild the tissue completely off the grid.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. It basically sits on the hard drive in isolated, encrypted state, just waiting for a trigger.
Wow.
So whether the laptop is sitting in a remote cabin with no cell service or the corporate network has been completely severed, Swimage can trigger that local kit to initiate a full rebuild from the inside out.
Wait, but you just said it rebuilds the OS with the necessary patches. If this kit is offline and isolated, how does an offline cache apply the latest security patches?
Well, the local cache doesn't just stay stagnant. During normal, healthy operations, a background synchronizer quietly updates that hidden, encrypted partition.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it pulls down the latest OS patches, application updates, and security definitions when the network is safe. So when disaster strikes and the network is severed, the blueprint it uses to rebuild is actually extremely current.
That makes total sense.
And once the machine is rebuilt to a clean state, it can safely reconnect to a quarantined segment of the network to pull any final updates before rejoining the main corporate environment.
Okay, so to really understand the mechanics here, let's track a piece of malware through the system. The documentation outlines how Swimage manages the 4 formal stages of incident response to maintain business continuity.
Right.
Stage 1 is preparation.
Yeah, so in the preparation stage, the platform establishes baselines. It instruments the environment with tools to listen for triggers. Automated defenders need to know exactly what normal registry activity and normal network traffic look like.
So they can spot the anomalies?
Exactly, so they can instantly identify the deviations caused by an attack. This is also when organizations develop their courses of action, basically pre-programming the specific automated responses.
Right, laying the tripwires. And then we hit stage 2, which is detection and analysis. The AI drone swarm breaches the wall.
Yep, and when suspicious activity trips those wires, Swimage immediately moves to safeguard the monitoring agents themselves, because advanced malware often tries to blind the security software first.
Sneaky.
Very. But if an agent gets compromised, Swimage automatically heals it. But the most critical mechanical step here happens right before it takes destructive action against the threat. It captures a full memory and disk image.
Wait, how does it capture a disk image of a corrupted machine without the malware just corrupting the snapshot, too?
It's super clever. It utilizes immutable logging and snapshot mechanisms that operate at a lower level than the operating system.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, by hooking into the hypervisor or utilizing isolated hardware-level storage, it essentially takes a read-only photograph of the crime scene that the malware literally cannot alter.
That preserves the digital forensics for the security team to analyze later, without having to leave the actual infected machine running. That is brilliant.
It really is.
Which throws us into stage 3, containment, eradication, and recovery.
Right. So containment happens first. The system instantly isolates the impacted machine from the clean network. It updates firewall filtering at the endpoint level to block unauthorized access.
Just cutting the malware off from its command and control servers?
Exactly. The infected machine is locked in quarantine, now for eradication. And traditional IT response usually involves, running antivirus scans, hunting down the malicious files, trying to delete them.
Just praying you got every last piece of the rootkit. It is a terrifying game of whack-a-mole.
And that game is entirely obsolete now. Swimage sidesteps malware removal completely. It doesn't try to clean the infected house. It bulldozes the entire house down to the foundation and instantly builds an identical, pristine house in its place using that local offline cache.
But wait, what about the user's data? If you bulldoze the C drive, how is there zero data loss?
Because the user data is architecturally separated from the operating system. Before the bulldoze happens, the system secures the user's data, so documents, encrypted files, settings, in a protected migration layer.
Okay, I follow.
The underlying corrupted OS is wiped out, completely eliminating any deeply embedded rootkits. The pristine OS is installed, and then that protected migration layer restores the user's data right back where it belongs.
So the user gets their exact computer back, perfectly clean, files intact in about 30 minutes, all while entirely disconnected from the corporate network.
Yep.
That is a massive paradigm shift. And that leaves us with stage 4, post-incident activity.
Which is really the learning phase. Once the fire is out, the system shares telemetry. It uses those forensics gathered back in stage 2 to identify exactly how the breach happened, which groups are most vulnerable, and what new triggers need to be set.
Ah, so it adapts.
Exactly. It then automatically enforces those new defensive rules across the entire fleet of endpoints. The hive mind learns from the single attack.
Okay, so what does this all mean? We've covered the terrifying speed of AI-driven threat generation, and we've broken down the deep mechanics of zero-touch offline rebuilds.
Right.
But for you, the listener, we need to ground these technical concepts in real-world human impact. And the source material provides some incredible use cases that show what actually happens when you remove the human bottleneck from IT recovery.
The scale in these examples really highlights the difference between human speed and machine speed logistics.
Yeah, the documentation details a scenario with a chief technology officer at a federal government agency. They implemented Swimmage's automated approach, and it allowed their existing tech team to completely replace and migrate nearly 5,000 PCs in just 3 months.
Which is insane. I mean, to do that manually, touching every single machine, would typically require an army of technicians and take over a year.
Easily. And it's equally effective for smaller teams operating under extreme duress, too. There's a case study from a national nonprofit IT director. They faced an absolute emergency on a Monday.
Oh, right, the Monday crisis.
Yeah. By Tuesday, they deployed Swimmage, and a single IT staff member was able to deploy 60 computers in just 2 hours. One human being, 2 hours, 60 fully configured machines.
That is the power of automation right there.
It really is. But honestly, my favorite quotes are from the actual end users. You know, the remote workers and the European office employees who left testimonials.
They loved it.
They universally praised how seamless the process was. One remote worker specifically pointed out that their entire PC replacement and rebuild was so fast and intuitive that they never even had to contact the help desk.
Which is crazy because the help desk didn't even know there was a crisis until after it was already resolved.
Right. I mean, think about the nightmare of the traditional remote work crisis. Your laptop gets infected or the registry just corrupts. You call the help desk, you wait on hold for an hour.
Oh, it's the worst.
They remote in, poke around, and finally tell you the machine is bricked. Now you have to find a cardboard box, ship your dead laptop across the country to corporate IT, and wait a week for them to wipe it and mail you a replacement.
You lose days of productivity.
You miss deadlines. It's infuriating. But with an automated zero-trust architecture, the machine isolates itself, bulldozes the corruption, and heals itself locally while you just go to the kitchen to make a cup of coffee.
It literally downgrades a catastrophic, multi-day operational failure into a completely invisible 30-minute coffee break.
So, to synthesize this entire deep dive for you, we have crossed a threshold. Cyber threats are currently being massively accelerated by frontier AI models. As the Five Eyes intelligence agencies made abundantly clear, the timeline for these advanced threats to compromise our global systems is no longer measured in years.
It is measured in months.
The attacks are faster, they're wider, and they're capable of finding vulnerabilities at a scale humans simply cannot comprehend.
Yeah, relying on manual human speed defense against an automated machine speed adversary is just a guaranteed failure at this point.
Exactly. To survive, organizations must ruthlessly eliminate those human bottlenecks. The only path forward is adopting self-healing, automated architectures like Swimmage. We need systems that don't just alert a human to a threat, but can automatically isolate, eradicate, and completely rebuild a compromised machine from the inside out in minutes, even if it is entirely severed from the internet.
Absolutely.
So whether you are an IT executive desperately trying to secure a sprawling global network without fearing a 3 a.m. ransomware alert, or you're just a remote employee who needs their laptop to turn on and work tomorrow morning, the future of your digital safety relies entirely on these rapid, automated defenses.
This raises an important question, though, and it's a scenario I kind of want to leave the listener to ponder.
Okay, let's hear it.
If malicious generative AI is now completely automating the discovery of vulnerabilities and the execution of exploits, well, not ellipses, but you get what I mean.
Right, the AI is doing everything automatically.
Yeah, and platforms like Swimmage are completely automating the detection, isolation, and rebuilding of our systems. So are we rapidly approaching a future where cybersecurity is entirely an invisible, machine-to-machine war.
Wow.
Like a reality where humans are no longer the combatants, but mere spectators sitting on the sidelines, just hoping that our defensive algorithms can outpace their offensive ones.
That is a staggering thought to end on. The digital disaster and the digital rebuild, just a complete war of attrition, all happening in the blink of an eye, completely outside of our control. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, stay secure, and we'll see you next time.